to have a long life, but I want to have a full life, and I want it to matter. Like, that's what's important to me. It's the dash between the years. I want to have lived and made sure that my time on earth actually mattered. That's what's important to me. I couldn't care if it's 100 or if it's 75.
Amen to that. Amen.
Quality over quantity. You got it, Terrence.
Yeah. And another thing. Anyway, we appreciate you all being here with us. I'm sorry, I guess it's my time to end the show. I usually leave this to Dr. Gina, but we appreciate you being here with us today. Have a great rest of the day. We will see you tomorrow. Now, let's get you over to War Room. It's up next. Go boldly, y'all. Deuces.
Is this Steve Gruber singing? Is he in a field?
For us are important to point out now that will never be acceptable. The first is the Straits of Hormuz are international waters. International waterways do not belong to any nation state. This is a foundational principle in the world today, without which the world would be in total chaos. If in fact we accepted that you can charge money to use an international waterway because it happens to be near your territorial space, well, then this will spread throughout the world like a contagion. If in fact there is now a straits that one country can, or two countries can, or any countries decide they want to charge money for its use, what is going to stop every country in the world near a waterway from imposing the same? And then we're going to have chaos. So that is unacceptable. And then we're going to have chaos. So that is unacceptable. You can call it a toll, you can call it a fee, whatever you want to call it. It's a game of semantics. The reality of it is that no country on earth has a right to charge for the use of international waterways. And that will never be an acceptable condition of any deal. The president's been fundamentally clear about that.
Last month, President Trump threatened to bomb Oman if they impose tolls on the strait. And just today, you mentioned that no two nations should be able to impose tolls on a natural strait. What are you satisfied? Is the current bilateral relationship with Oman now in a good place? And are you convinced they're not playing games with respect to that issue?
I mean, our relationship with Oman is fine. I mean, ultimately, there's not going to be any fees or tolls. There's not going to be any, and they've signed, they were there in the meeting today, and they said it, that they're not in favor of a tolling system. So that's good. I'm glad to hear you say that.
I do have to ask, because just a few weeks ago, there was the hypothetical threat to bomb Oman. So it didn't seem to be okay a few weeks ago. So
yeah, I can only talk to you about today. And today they said in the meeting, and they signed on to the statement that said there isn't going to be any fees or tolls. And so I think that's good news that they signed on to that.
Secretary, back
to go through the straits. And think about it this way. If you have, first, it's not even workable. Let's suppose that we went crazy and lost our minds completely and decided to agree to have a tolling or a fee mechanism. How would that work? It's not doable, because what's the consequence for not paying? Let's say a ship says, well, I'm not going to pay the fee. It's not like a toll on a road. You don't get a ticket in the mail. They get shot at. You shoot at one ship, you sink one ship, no other ship is going to move. So that sort of system is not only unwise, it can't happen, it's not even workable. So you might as well abandon the fantasy now.
You used to call them, you did, yeah. You used to call them religious theocratic lunatics. Do you still believe that language applies to the leadership today?
Well, look, it's not that I believe it, it's the fact of the matter. I mean, the Iranian system is led by clerics, radical clerics. That's what it's always been led by, and that's what it continues to be led by. That said, we also have to manage the geopolitics of the situation, and then there's if they've changed their mindset, or if they've changed their approach to their relations with the United States and their neighbors, then we're going to give this thing a chance to work. Maybe this changed. I'm not saying it has. I'm saying the president wants to explore whether that's the case. And if it has, we're going to find out. But we're not going to find out because of what they say. We're going to find out because of what they do. We're going to judge them by their actions. And we'll test that proposition and see. No one says it's going to be easy, because I think at the end, we know that people that are still at the top levels of that government are people that adhere to the same theology and the same mentality as the people that have led it in the past. They've got some people in the political branches that seem more flexible and more willing to work with us. Those are the ones we're negotiating with. We'll see how it works out.
New data in showing that inflation rose again last month. The Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge now at the highest level in 3 years. CNN's David Goldman is joining us now. What more are you seeing with this?
Yeah, well, 4.1%. That is the highest in 3 years. You don't want to see a number that high. But I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to say ignore that, right?
Okay.
This is
ignore the news.
Ignore the news. This is old news, right? Because this happened in May. And what has happened since May? Well, oil prices have fallen precipitously. We're now down below the levels that we were at when the war started. The number that I want you to focus on, however, is the core number. They cut out all those volatile numbers like food and energy, and that one rose more than expected. That's the concern, because if you even get rid of all of those high energy prices, inflation is still rising, and that is going to be really tricky for the Fed to figure out how to get rid of. Now, Kevin Warsh, who President Trump nominated for the Fed chair, he might have to raise rates. That's not what President Trump hired him to do. So we're in a sticky situation for sure.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish, in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Thursday, 25 June, Year of Our Lord 2026. Very special broadcast today. We're doing it from the War Room. We had plans of maybe doing it on the road somewhere, but the technical issues overwhelmed us because so much is going on in Washington, D.C. Mo Bannon, thank you so much. Mo, I noticed you cruised through here when we got the big celebrations last night, heading to party. You're going to be partying with... I shouldn't say that. Partying with Bolling in Nashville, and also with Gary Sinise and his crew. We'll get to all that. Thanks you for coming in. Let me go to Bolling to start off with. And I've got to also say that the Senate's gone, not coming back to July 13th. I guess we're not passing the Save America Act this afternoon. I guess we're not working through the weekend in the run-up to the 2025 or to the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration, going through this. But let's deal with matters at hand right now. Eric Bolling, and I think Bolling's mobile this morning. I take it you're heading to Nashville, Eric?
I am, Steve, and I'm looking forward to bringing Maureen Bannon on to liven up the show a bit. Yeah, we're going to be in Nashville this afternoon, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. And we got one of the Bannons. Maybe we'll get the other Bannon up there, too.
Well, hang on. I don't know. You're at John Rich's. You're at the hottest spot in Nashville. Why do you need Bannon augmentation to make that any livelier?
Never get too much Bannon in your show. We learn a lot from the Bannon crew. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun. John Rich is gonna be on the show. A bunch of country artists and maybe a few politicians that we can hold their feet to the fire a little bit. But did you happen to see, Steve, the comment that John Thune made about why he wasn't willing to bring the SAFE Act to the Senate floor? He said, well, you don't see what I see. And he said, I've seen this, I've studied this, and he never gave us an example. Now, if you want to learn a little bit, you watch the War Room, because Steve will tell you what he thinks, and he'll tell you why he thinks it. Thune just said, almost trust me, it wouldn't make it through. Instead of explaining why it wouldn't make it through or who would be a holdout, he just is refusing to bring it to the floor and filibuster it through for whatever reasons. Because probably some form of anti-Trump or Trump derangement syndrome virus has got.
I mean, we had in the broadcast last night, Bo Davidson was anchoring from the West Palm Beach Republican Club, and these folks are hardcore, and all they were doing was talking about the Save America Act, and they wanted to remove John Thune as leader. Matt Boyle kind of dropped by. He was in the neighborhood going over to a CPI event, because there's many events in town kicking off the 10-day commemoration, and so I had Boyle just drop by, and he came in, and all he was doing was throwing down about how really you kind of need a leadership fight in mid-July to late July to fire people up that were taking this thing in the right direction. I just think Thune, his arrogance now, and what they did, their excuse is, oh, well, they unwound. They got Cassidy and some guys to back off, so they unwound the War Powers. They voted the War Powers Act the other day, and they got them to back off, so that was a huge win. So it was no problem letting them leave town and not coming back to July 13th. They have no sense of urgency. I mean, we're grinding here in the war room, as everybody. The president's grinding. He's working 20-hour days. Everybody's grinding, and these guys are now on another, I don't know, until the 13th, I guess the 17-day, just taking off, lollygagging around, probably going to go on some Codels, and then they'll sashay back in here on the 12th, and I think it's time for a leadership fight. But hang on for a second. Marco Rubio has now, we understand that Secretary of State National Security Advisor is now out of the witness protection program. He shows up in the Middle East. But Bolling, talk about it. Listen, that's the most logical thing I've heard here. He's throwing down like we are that, hey, what is this thing about we're going to have a chat with the Persian pirates and in Oman, and they're going to have dialogue to discuss the Straits of Hormuz. Yeah. And you got the Persians coming out. They're coming out every 10 minutes saying, hey, we control it. We're going to have a plan to show you safe navigation in a different kind of, they don't call it tolls. They call it servicing fees in different structures. Let's talk about what Marco says first about the strait, and then we're going to get into the inflation number. Talk to me about as a trader in oil, when you heard Marco Rubio up there, I think pretty definitively saying what the structure of this is going to look like going forward, sir.
Glad he did it. I noticed he didn't want to touch the deal too much. He's going to let JD keep his hands bloodied with that deal. I'm not sure that deal's going to even fly anymore. But Marco,
hold it. Slow down. Don't bury the lead. What do you mean? What do you mean he didn't touch the deal? He's the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor.
Well, they asked him a couple of points specifics about the deals, like how are you going to get the Iranians to do that? He said, I don't want to get ahead of the negotiators because they're still apparently negotiating this, whatever this is. Steve, you and I have said that, come on, how long have we been doing this? 40 years? Have you ever been able to trust the Iranians? Have you ever been able to trust the Middle East that they're not going to be out for their own personal gain? This deal, you think for 1 second, you were through it in the 80s. You remember you watching through the 80s. You saw it happen with Barack Obama. They've promised to allow inspectors in. They've made multiple promises. We cut deals with them. We send them billions of dollars in cash, and then they don't perform on their side of the deal, their promises. And then everyone kind of, what's the next problem? What else are we talking about? Is it going to be Cuba, or is it going to be something else, or is there economy? And then we forget about this one. Meanwhile, these people still want to kill us, Steve. They've never not wanted to kill us. They've never seen us as anything but the great Satan. Guess what? We're not the great Jesus anymore. Now, all of a sudden, within the Iranian regime, we're still a great Satan, and they will do everything in their power to get rid of us. They're not going to show us their nuclear capabilities. And this whole idea of somehow sending them $300 billion, $100 billion from us, $200 from others, is absolutely insane.
Hang on. I haven't seen any $100 billion commitment from us. I've heard we're going to be structured. Look, I hate that part of it, but I've just heard that the Gulf Emirates are going to put up 2/3 of it, and they're going to find out the rest. We may administer it, which I don't like. I don't like rebuilding anything in Persia. Let them rebuild it, and we shouldn't give them a penny.
Hundreds is ours. Up to 100 is the money that we're holding that was illegal. Well, in our opinion, we're holding on to the assets because we have an embargo with them. I mean, we can still keep it. I mean, it's not, granted, it's not coming out of our treasury, but why release this money back to the Iranians when we know exactly what they're going to do? They're not going to buy food from our farmers with it. No way they're going to do that. They're going to start rebuilding their centrifuges and ready to aim them at New York City.
Just so the audience is up to speed, Scott Besson came out and said, hey, look, anything discussion, because what Eric's talking about, as we addressed, there's $100 billion, just like the Russians had their money in European banks, I think in dollar-denominated or EU-denominated securities, and was frozen and seized in the Ukraine war. The Iranians have had essentially about $100 billion in assets spread throughout the world. Now, I think $50 billion of that is around the CCP or other people that we don't actually control. 50 billion, I think, Eric, is directly under our control. And Pete's gone up with an $88 billion request. I think 67 billion of that is directly tied to this war. My part, hey, if you want to have something for the American people, let's sweep $50 billion in cash. Maybe they're not buying foodstuffs from American farmers. No offense. Why should we allow them to use that money to feed themselves? We don't want them fed.
Agree.
And I know people say, "Oh, that's so cruel." Hey, it's called a war. It's called a war for a reason. Were we feeding the Japanese and the Germans in WW2? Were we feeding the North Vietnamese? Were we feeding the Koreans? You can't get into this. You got it's black and white. Sweep their cash and have them pay for what we had to do. This is about their nuclear program and taking down their military threat. Anyway, Bolling's here. We got an inflation number to get around, but also I want to go back to the straight. Marco Rubio sounding quite logical this morning about this situation in Hormuz. Short break. Bolling on the road. We're here in the war room.
I always hear about how we should take care of our disabled veterans.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hi, this is Chris from Colorful Colorado. I'm drawbridge in the Getter Chat. I trust no one for my news except Real America's Voice. So if anyone asks, I was never here.
Hello, all you Ravagers. I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family. When I want to be heard, I use my Real America's Voice.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
Okay, Eric, let's go back to Marco Rubio. What he's saying, he's in the, not just the Middle East, he's in the Gulf Emirates for a reason. Talk to us about what you think that reason is in his discussion on Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf, sir.
My guess is that he's going to try and smooth over the mess, unfortunately. I mean, people are going to say it was great, but it was a disaster that the JD and Kushner and Witkoff put together, because, you know, on top of all the things we're going to give them all this money, Steve, we're allowing them to sell oil again. allowing them to sell oil again. We've had an embargo on them for years, and all of a sudden we're going to let them sell oil and enrich themselves even further. It has nothing to do with this sort of deal. It's just insane. So I think Marco's putting his foot down a little bit. Like, well, now that there was rumblings that the Iranians said they didn't really agree to no tolls in the Strait, and Marcos went in there, and I think the whole purpose of that was Rubio telling him, hey, I'm not JD. We're not going to do this. You're not going to block an international waterway, and we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. I think they needed to hear that from someone other than the people who are just trying to get any deal on the table for some reason.
This is, by the way, the memorandum of understanding is just a framework that leads to a deal, right? Because it's really, the MOU is non-binding of itself. So that process is a whole process that's kind of, got its own logic, processes, internal,
So dumb question, Mr. Bannon, dumb question, Mr. Geopolitical guru of mine. If you're going to do that, your 60-day memorandum, 60 days, we'll see if you perform, which, by the way, they'll be perfect angel children for 60 days. 61st day, they'll return to the devil that they are. But if you're going to do this, why allow them to sell oil in those 60 days? Why don't you keep the embargo on? That has nothing to do with anything.
I'm 100%. I'm 100%. You lock everything in. You don't let them do anything. You don't let them monetize it. You keep. I carry a battle group out there. Every ship comes in. If it's oil from Iran, you turn it back around and send it back to Bandar Abbas. I think you don't give them a penny of the cash. Correct. No assets, no lift, nothing. Where
were you? Why weren't you in Islamabad? Where that was banned?
No. I'm just a simple Mick here in the war room. Eric, but one of the reasons I think the president would say you guys have got it wrong is because he wants to get the economy revved back up like we had before the war started. Obviously, that's predicated upon full spectrum energy dominance. Talk to us about this inflation number, the personal consumption expenditures, PCE. Why is that such a big number? Why is the Fed focus on it and excludes, I don't know, food and energy? Why is that, and why is this such an important number?
Well, it's an insane number. It's the one that the Fed uses as probably their main judge. PCE plus the price, the PPI, or the price producer price index. Those are the two that they would normally look at. But PCE is important because it's really everything we do, everything we buy, every service we do. It encompasses everything, and it's so important that it's 4.2%. It's over 4%. We have to go back to April of 2023, halfway through Biden's term, to see an inflation number this hot. So no, it's a terrible number. And the worst part of this, Steve, I've talked about this going through. In fact, Steve, in the first couple of weeks of the war, I was on here saying, we got to be careful because inflation is going to go. We're like, oh, well, if the price comes down, oil price comes down, don't worry, gas prices will come down. Well, they won't. Gas prices go up like a rocket and come down like an escalator. That's the way it happens. These prices are sticky. They're sticking to the personal consumption expenditure number. They're creating a higher inflation for everything. And then when you pull out food and energy, which is insane to do because we use food and energy every day, it's still way elevated and on the trend higher. And it will continue to stay elevated and trend higher for at least one more month. And this is pushing up against a midterm election that could be disastrous with inflation running this high. Remember, we're midterm, we're Biden inflation.
Let's put that off to the side for a second. It isn't the logic what the president's saying is that, as you said, right now, what is encapsulated in this number is you've got a bunch of $140, $125, $115, $100 oil that's been bought, that's got to be processed. And these guys ain't going to process it at a loss, right? So we're not to the $70, President Trump saying last night, $60 handle on it. That's all to come. Isn't the way you do that is let these guys let them start coming off the sanctions? I don't agree with it, but isn't one of the logics is let them come off the sanctions and get more of the $40 and $50, $60 oil out there?
No, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think we don't have an oil price problem and a crude oil price problem anymore. Now we have a gasoline price problem that's going to be very sticky throughout the summer. I think we have the highest travel Memorial Day in the history of our country. People are driving at $4 a gallon of gasoline. That's 25% higher than the first Trump term. Trump yesterday said, don't worry, gas is going to get to $2.25. I can still love Trump. I can still be America first. I can still believe in this president as the greatest president in my lifetime. But I can also say he's wrong about that. I've done oil for 40 years. All right. I know oil inside and out. I was a marketing representative for ExxonMobil first. 92% of all the gasoline sold in America is sold by independent franchisees, independent dealers. Only about 5 to 7% is actually ExxonMobil selling it for themselves. ExxonMobil, Shell, Conoco, the people that Trump called out yesterday to come into the White House and get their oil prices down, those aren't the ones who are selling gasoline. That's not where the gouging is happening. Gouging may likely be happening. Gouging is happening on the retail level. It's mom and pop. It's the guy who owns 10 Shell gas stations or Sun gas stations. Those are the people who are keeping the prices high. There is no way to regulate we have anti-gouging laws on the state level, but the states have to declare a state emergency to kick in the gouging. It's almost impossible to bring prices down if they're being gouged at the local level. So we're in a tough predicament, but it's not something you didn't hear. You know, I hate to do it, but we've been beating the drum right here in War Room to get through this thing a lot faster than we actually did.
If you have to go through hell, go through as quickly as possible. Eric, tell us about you're heading to Nashville. Why are you taking the show on the road? The last one was huge. Went to the villages. That was overwhelming. Why Nashville?
I wanted to go to the heartbeat of where true conservatives live in America. We have such a huge base, and we had it, obviously in Central Florida. We have it in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to probably head out to, I think we're going to Floribama, and then we're going to head out to Phoenix. All the places where people love Real America's Voice, love Steve Bannon, War Room, my show, Bowling, and really tap into people's what they want to hear, what they want to talk about. And we put people on in the audience. We've sold out every place, standing room only. If you're in the area, please come by John Rich's Redneck Riviera. John will be joining us. We're going to talk all things like what's on your mind. What do you want the politicians to hear? Because, Steve, as you know, they listen to our shows and they hear what we're saying.
What's your sense last night? And we're going to have, if everything works out, hopefully we'll have Ambassador Crowley on here to talk about the 10-day run-up to the 4th. Huge event last night. What's your sense of where people's heads are in the run-up to the 250th commemoration of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, just where they think the country is, sir?
I think the event surrounding the anniversary will bring back some patriotism, bring back some conservative voters. I think right now people are disillusioned. I mean, the base is wondering why we're spending so much money, why we're allowing things to happen that they don't like, why prices are this high when we literally escorted Biden out of the office because of prices. I think that 250 will help us a lot. And I hope, I hate to say this, but I hope one of the, either Clarence Thomas or Alito retires so people realize how important it is to keep the Senate. Because if you don't have the Senate, Trump's going to have a hard time getting any of his choices through on time. So I would hope that, they do it, and they do it early enough after the midterms so we can work on getting another Supreme Court justice in there. 7-2 sounds a lot better than whatever we are. We're allegedly 6'3". We might actually be 5'5", but you know that as well.
We're hanging for these big announcements. I talked to Mike Davis, the Viceroy, or made contact with him early this morning about the dropping of the one we're going to hear about birthright citizenship. It's quite ironic in the 250th birth of our nation that we're about to have a decision that could codify how radical this country's change. Eric, where do people go for all the content, for the shows, on the road, everything you got, sir?
The Real America's Voice every day at 4, leading into Bannon War Room at 5. Also at Eric Bolling, EricBolling, everywhere. The Edge on YouTube and the Bowling Show everywhere else. Appreciate you guys, and Ben, keep doing it, man. Keep crushing it. My OG conservative true north, brother.
No. Hold it. Are we taking a bowling upgrade on the road with us? That's what I'm hearing? Rumor has it.
The rumor has it, Maureen Bannon will be joining the Bowling Show tomorrow, Friday afternoon, right towards the end of the 4 o'clock hour. We're looking forward to maybe, hey, Maureen, maybe a little insight on Mr. Stephen K. Bannon Yeah, the home life,
Yeah.
behind the scenes, behind the curtain, so to speak.
There's no home life. What you see is what you see is what you get right here.
We know that.
Eric,
Steve. That's why
say
you're
hi.
so good at it. That's because you and I connect that way, because we're the same people in front of a cameras behind. I appreciate you. Appreciate Maureen. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon, Maureen.
Okay, brother.
See you tomorrow, Eric.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. You're not going to rat us out there. You're not pretending. This Nashville event's a big event. Got John, Rich, got everybody. So much is happening. Eric's taking the show on the road. Rav's everywhere. Really want to thank Real America's Voice. Hopefully we're going to get Ambassador. I know she's overwhelmed today. Hope to get Ambassador Crowley on the show and walk through what's going to happen. Last night couldn't have been better. I mean, really a special presentation. People know I'm a sucker for the music. I thought the music was unbelievable, Mo, and just a great turnout. The military bands, which are my favorite, just absolutely amazing. And some of these singers from the Army are just absolutely amazing, incredible. Okay, Birch Gold, they've got a special, only goes to July 10th. With a qualifying purchase, you get a free 1-ounce silver round. Easiest way to do this, just take your phone out and text Bannon, B-A-N-N-O-N, at 989898. You get the ultimate guide for investing in gold and precious metals, but more importantly, you get to talk to Philip Patrick and the team, particularly now about financial turbulence, another hot print. Peter Navarro's got a pretty good piece out, just came out in Real Clear Markets to kind of...
I'd like to say this is the first time.
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, and inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Flash a source in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with the family I love.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to RAV. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
I'm Terry from New Jersey, and I just want to say that I love Real America's Voice. I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
in this era of Republicans so eager to show fealty to Donald Trump. I actually want to borrow the New York Times lead today on this from my friend Michael Gold, because I think it sums it up perfectly. They wrote, "The confrontation came over lunch. The cleanup began after dinner." That is what we saw. I do want to start with the news, which is what you mentioned at the top here, the reversal on the War Powers Resolution. As you mentioned, it came just hours after the president clashed angrily with Senate Republicans behind closed doors in this lunch, specifically with Senator Bill Cassidy. But later in the day, in a 50-47 vote, one senator voted present. They defeated that War Powers Resolution that they had just passed the day before on Tuesday. Now, I should note, this is a largely symbolic measure, or move, I should say, didn't really change much to the crux of the original legislation, but it unmistakably is a sign to try and mollify the president, who, again, was really clashing and berating members earlier in the day. But to get back to that, first yesterday, we knew the president was going to the Hill for lunch with Senate Republicans. Right before he did, he kind of snatched defeat from the jaws of victory for Republicans and his White House alike. He said that he was not going to move forward with a bill signing on a very popular and bipartisan housing bill, one that his own team here at the White House had been celebrating that same day, including we also saw the House Speaker Mike Johnson touting it earlier in the day as well. Then he spent the day, as I mentioned, berating Senate Republicans, largely over that War Powers Resolution, where they kind of rebuked him on Tuesday. And specifically, at one point, we were told that he devolved into a shouting match with Senator Bill Cassidy. At one point during that lunch, the president called the senator a, quote, lunatic. So that just shows how I think tense things are currently in Congress. I will note Cassidy was one of the people who did ultimately change his vote to go for this War Powers Resolution vote, changing it yesterday. He said that was after receiving a briefing from the vice president in Steve Witkoff. We heard similar things from Rand Paul, another person who changed his vote, arguing that he said since the hostilities seemed to be over, the president gave me to give consideration to his negotiating position. I will do so. So we'll see where things go from now. But this is not the end, I think, of the infighting, Kate, among Republicans on the Hill.
Why does President Trump keep blindsiding Republicans on a number of legislative issues, including this morning's Sunday?
I wouldn't call it blindsiding. He's been saying consistently for months that the Save America Act is a top priority. I talked to him about it this morning, about an hour before he made that announcement. I convinced him that I thought the housing bill was his priorities and was good policy. I needed time to go through with him the great policies and the changes we made from the original Senate bill, which was not a great product. What finally passed is.
But isn't this unhelpful?
I think it'll delay the signing, but I think we get it done.
A quick fact check. They were blindsided. In fact, a stage had already been set up at the Capitol for the bill signing.
The president said that he's canceling the signing until State Act is passed. He said he's not coming today.
Okay, all right. I just heard that.
He won't. So what can you say about that? Is that going to work? How are your members going to react to it?
I just don't have, I guess I would say, at this point, I don't have any observation.
Okay, just so we understand the kind of order of battle here, the president, I think, was alerted basically that, hey, before this lunch, and I think it was with the steering committee. I mean, I guess Cassidy came in, but with the steering committee, not with the entire conference. And it wasn't everybody in his face. I think he and Cassidy got into it. The president said, look, I'm not going to sign the housing bill, which everybody's worked on, and we had the team from Compass yesterday on here. They had worked on it. Daniel Kissy and the team. It's not perfect, but it's a really good piece of legislation. It's the first big thing I think has been passed that actually had bipartisan support. And but the president said, I'm not going to do it. You're not listening to me. That the Save America Act is that. It's Save America. And the president's over and over again has said, this is, so important. I'm not going to do anything until that gets done. And yet they had this piece of legislation. And I think he just said, look, we're not going to do this. I'm not going up there. I'm not going to have a signing ceremony. I'm not going to have a press conference, take questions from the press when this is the most important thing. And if the reporting is correct and the White House was called, the staff's called, a surprise or Johnson or people on the Hill, I don't understand why. maybe it's time to start listening to President Trump. And when he says something, just like when he says something, he means it. In particular in this, he couldn't, Mo, how many true socials has he put it? How many times, every time he talks about legislation, it's always about Save America. Is there any doubt in your military mind that this is the president's priority?
Not at all.
It's very clear.
Crystal clear.
Crystal clear. And so I don't know why we have a big, and actually go up. And remember, the president of the United States doesn't go to Capitol Hill often. He's invited by the Speaker of the House, I think by the Constitution, to give an update on the Union, on an annual basis. That's become now the State of the Union, this big, pageantry and this whole thing of State of the Union. I think for the first 100 years, he sent like a letter. He sent a memo and it was read. I'm not sure guys even went up and actually did it. Certainly not to the pomp and circumstance it's done today. My point is, when he goes up, it's a big deal. The chief executive does not go up to the Hill often. So going up yesterday, you see the Senate, particularly in this situation where they're treating him like a lame duck, to the fact that he's trying to negotiate this deal. And clearly you got Marco over there saying one thing about the straits, there's another thing being negotiated in the MOU. Okay, no big deal. We'll figure it out. But what the president doesn't need, and they said, which is highly symbolic. Yeah, it's highly symbolic to the frickin' Arabs and the Persians in the region. And the Turks and everybody else is saying, hey, because the headline on BBC, the headline all over the world, Mo, you saw this, is that, hey, the Senate has put restrictions on the president on his War Powers Act. They don't understand the nuance of the unconstitutional War Powers Act. They just read the headlines. And it says, and it shows dissension, that a body that he controls or is controlled by his party, and every person in there is in there, the 53 in there because of Donald Trump. If you didn't have his endorsement, you're not in there. To wit, Cornyn and Cassidy are going home because they crossed him on so many occasions. Going home, and Cassidy finished third in a primary, unprecedented. It's unprecedented for an incumbent to lose. The way the money works and the structure of this and the perks, it's virtually impossible to beat a senator in a primary in a state. These are highly unusual things. And so he goes up there having already trying to force him as a forcing function, to force him to sign something, so then his promise is meaningless. I don't understand what they're thinking about. I don't understand what they don't get. He's anchored because guess why? Because of the stealing of elections. At the same time, you've got Pulte, you've got Solomon, you've got others that are up there on this excavation process. That's what it is. To get to the bottom of all this, I believe you heard John Solomon on the show last night, was gracious enough to join us as he was going back to work at the White House. He's a temporary employee over there for, I think, 210 days or, something like that. On declassification, he told you, hey, some things are coming. So then the president goes into the lunch. What have I said here over and over and over again? I've been very consistent. They're treating him worse than a lame duck, because a lame duck, once the guy's out of office or it's, the time's moving on, you treat him with some respect, you give him a head nod, not a problem. Hope that we'll give you a watch when you leave, right? A gold watch. It's all going to work out. But here, they're not treating him with respect. He carried these people across the goal line in November of 2024, the House and the Senate. We have a huge dogfight in front of us, and obviously the print today. And I just want to say again that Peter Navarro disagrees with this. He got a great piece up in Real Clear's Market. I talked to Peter right before we came on air. We're going to try to get Peter on the afternoon show, but it's a hot print. People are very concerned about this. President's working nonstop to try to, work things through. And they show no respect. So he comes up for this lunch. A guy that loses in a primary, and Cassidy says, hey, I'm Irish, I got Irish temper. Hey, so do I. I empathize. I know what what are you laughing for?
I'm not laughing.
What are you laughing for? You're the one who's got the hot temper. This we got to keep.
I do.
No, we got to keep you on the short train here. You're on the board. You got to be respected. You got to class it up. Cassidy and the president, they make it seem like it was everybody. It wasn't. I think it was Cassidy, and they got heated. In fact, they started yelling, or at least Cassidy started yelling at the president of the United States. Put that in your mind for a second. Lyndon Johnson or Jack Kennedy or Richard Nixon going to go up to Capitol Hill to the Senate, and they're going to, Mike Mansfield, these guys are going to start yelling at them? I don't think. What are you talking about? This is like, this is Donald Trump. If we didn't have Trump, you wouldn't have our country. You just flat out. If you didn't have Trump, you wouldn't have a country. You see what happened Tuesday night with these young progressive Marxists in New York City that spread throughout the country? And I realize only 7% of the vote, but hey, 7% that shows up has power. If you didn't have Trump, you wouldn't have a country. Flat out. Do we have to do more? You're damn right. Are we only at the beginning of this fight? You're damn right. And this is for all the Republicans out there that, want to look away from this. I'm trying to get Rosemary Jinks up because we got, I think, great ruling on deportations. Everybody that understands it's too hard to fight this color revolution, it's too hard to fight the invasion that went on. This is why the country's in the shape it's in, because since, I don't know, Nixon, let's pick a random number, since Nixon, you've controlled the Senate, the House, and the White House just as much as the Democrats. Then how the country get in such a bad shape? Because the Democrats are focused on what they are trying to accomplish, and it gets more and more radical every day. Look at the Democratic Party today. DSA, it's Democrat Socialist, what I call Marxist jihadist, and it has all the modern tools of how to get voters out. The reason is that the same deadbeats sitting in that Senate, the same deadbeats, and we haven't changed the party that much. We just have not. There's a handful of Trump supporters in the House, and there's a handful in the Senate, and they're just playing for time, tapping Trump along. As soon as he's gone, they're gonna try to revert back to it. Now we're gonna raise bloody hell and fight like hell to make sure that doesn't happen. But that's what they intend to happen. You see this, Cassidy, and then get this. Cassidy goes over to the White House to the Situation Room after the meeting and has a briefing by the VP and Witkoff. That's great. And then he comes back and changes the vote. Yo, are you not spending time? You have access to intelligence up there. Or if you don't think you got enough access, did anybody reach out to the White House and say, hey, maybe we get further access? I don't understand how after you vote for the war powers to humiliate and embarrass the president and make it harder for him to negotiate, then you go get a briefing and reverse the vote. Is this information not available to you? Do you take these profound votes to limit the commander-in-chief on something that Cassidy's guys should understand? I think most constitutional lawyers, or at least most constitutional lawyers on the right, will say, this is unconstitutional. The War Powers Act in and of itself is unconstitutional. So to take that measure against the president in the middle of a war when he's trying to negotiate with people who are not easy to negotiate with, that you take that, then you go get a briefing. Oh yeah, I'll change it after briefing. I don't get the process, and I also don't get people just allowing the Senate to go on recess. I realize, it's previously scheduled. I don't give a damn. I got a lot of previously scheduled stuff. The President of the United States got a lot of previously scheduled stuff. He calls an audible in the middle of the day and does something else because of the urgency of the matter. Short break.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories.
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Flash a source in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with the family I love.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to RAV. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
I'm Terry from New Jersey, and I just want to say that I love Real America's Voice. I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
Okay, I'm honored. By the way, just in the neighborhood, Ambassador Monica Crowley, formerly a co-host and a regular contributor. Thank you, Scott Beza. You guys did well. The class of the War Room did quite well.
Well, it's great to see you again. It's been a minute, Steve. Great to be back here with the posse on the War Room. And yeah, you lost your entire guest and co-host base, right?
Navarro, Bess and you, but hey, better. Okay, we got a bunch we're going to do. We were here. We did live last night, I think 6 hours of just a magnificent kickoff. At the top of the hour, we're going to do a cold open on that and then get your comments. I want to talk about everything else, though. We have, RAV covers wall to wall the president's movement, everything's going on. In fact, we just started with Marco, the Secretary of State in the Middle East, and the discussion of Hormuz. So we're in the middle of the night and we do it all live. And I just got to tell you, it's been fantastic, whether it's the Russia or particularly China. I want to start with China. Because I don't think everybody knows. Most people know your connection with Richard Nixon and how much, and particularly in those years later in life when he was reflective on his importance in history, and particularly related to China. What did it feel like for you to go back representing the President of the United States as the ambassador for protocol and organizing the whole thing, understanding that your mentor, that had been the exact place where he had such a big impact on history?
Well, thank you so much for that question. And it's a huge question. And it means a lot to me personally because I also wrote my entire PhD dissertation at Columbia on the evolution of U.S. policy toward the People's Republic of China, starting with Truman and Atchison in 1948, all the way through 20 years later.
Where we gave China to the Chinese Communist Party.
Well,
your PhD thesis was a little more gentle.
Right. Well, when Truman decided that we couldn't fight a two-front war against two separate Chinese monolithic parties, first one in Moscow obviously was paramount and the premier threat, or the second one in Beijing, we just didn't have it in us after World War II that had depleted so much of our resources. So Truman made a decision that, look, we're just going to have to cede this for now because we've got a primary battle in the new Cold War against the Soviet Union. Fast forward 25 years.
Very much like the philosophy of World War II. We have to beat the Germans the Japanese will come after that. Still the same mindset, because I take a different mindset. We're a Pacific nation. Same mindset.
Yeah.
We got to save Europe first.
Right.
We'll worry about China on the back end.
Triage the threats, right? Especially coming after World War II and all of our resources. And the American people were spent after World War II. And I actually have a quote in my dissertation coming from Dean Acheson, where Truman says, how are we going to even rally the American people to confront the Cold War threat posed by the Soviets? Never mind the Chinese communist threat. And Acheson replies to him, we have to scare the hell out of the American people. And that the psyop there to get. I'm not saying that the Soviets weren't a threat. Of course they were. But in order to mobilize the American people.
It also shows you how much the American people want to put World War II in back of them.
Yeah, and wanted to revert to an America First posture after World War II. And then, of course, we faced a new threat. But going back to China, 20 years after Truman, and I wrote about this in my dissertation, Nixon wanted to open the door eventually. Would he have done it that soon without Vietnam? Probably not. But because our resources were so drained, and I wrote about this was the basis of my argument, but because our resources were so drained in Vietnam, he could not confront either the Soviet Union or the Chinese Communist Party in the kind of aggressive way he wanted to. Therefore, he had to buy time until we could get past Vietnam and you could get a president like Reagan who was more freed up to confront both threats in a more aggressive way. So you had détente with the Soviet Union and you had the opening to China, and both of those things were designed not as long-term strategies, but to buy time so the U.S. could recoup its losses after Vietnam, get back on its feet, and then confront both of these threats in a more aggressive way. My very first trip to China was in 1993 with President Nixon, and if we have time, Steve, I want to share this. So when I went with him in 1993, China was just coming out of its isolation. Nixon opened the door in 1972, but it took them another 20 years to kind of figure out exactly what to do. And Nixon had a brilliant insight into this. When the wall came down, Gorbachev in Russia decided to put political reform ahead of economic reform. It was glasnost before it was perestroika. That immediately collapsed the system because you cannot give people who have been living under the jackboot of tyranny a choice in their political system, even if it was just their local races, right, in their community, and then not give them a choice in their economic life, right? So that immediately accelerated the collapse of the Soviet Union. The Chinese saw that, and being much smarter, they did the exact opposite. They did economic reform first, and that staved off any demand for political reform, right? So in 93, they were just coming out of all of this. They were still a very agrarian society.
Coming out of Tiananmen Square.
Coming out of Tiananmen Square in 1989. This is 93. And when I was in Beijing and Shanghai with President Nixon, meeting the entire Chinese Communist leadership, what was striking is that in all of these major cities, there were 4-lane highways, Steve. The main the lane on the left was meant for Chinese communist vehicles. You'd see one or two as the leadership would go through the streets. The next lane over was for private vehicles, totally empty. The next lane over was for like horses and bicycles, totally full, millions of people in that lane. And the final lane was for donkeys and carts and that kind of thing, steer, oxen, totally full. 1993. Fast forward, I go back with Secretary Mnuchin in 2019, negotiating the first trade deal. And I look out of my hotel window in Shanghai, and I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Also, this time with President Trump. Steve, what struck me is, in the space of one generation, the Chinese have gone from an agrarian society to an industrial and nuclear superpower. And everybody in America with the resources has to go to China and see with their own eyes what we are up against.
What we're up against. We're going to take a short break. In fact, I want to restructure and come back to this. Still got some more questions on this. Richard Nixon, though, never forgot for a second. They're communist. I mean,
exactly.
He never. Exactly. He never fooled himself.
No illusions, as he used to say. I'm under no illusions.
No illusions. We're going to take a short commercial break. Ambassador Monica Crowley, an old friend of the show, is now in charge of everything protocol and running America's 250. We had a magnificent kickoff last night. We're going to get into all the details of that next in the War Room.
Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't traveling a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Party in all of American history.
What we've been seeing over the last half hour is people connect and mix and network, and it's a real carnival atmosphere here, Steve.
Can you make some noise for the greatest nation on the planet? In God we trust.
Doesn't stop here. This birthday party will continue from sea to shining sea. In the coming days, our nation will enjoy an iconic Mount Rushmore celebration, an international parade of majestic ships in New York, and of course, the biggest fireworks display of all time right here on July 4th. Events are so much more than just dates on a calendar. This is a moment that will inspire a new era of American greatness as we honor our extraordinary history, cherish our God-given freedoms, and look to the future with optimism, excitement, and yes, love of country. Uniting our country to commemorate its 250th birthday has no greater champion than President Donald J. Trump. possible without him and his tremendous leadership and vision to make this great celebration possible for all Americans. Now, we have a very special evening ahead as we launch the fair and pay tribute to all 56 states and territories with grandeur, ceremony, inspiration, and of course, fun. So please enjoy the sights and sounds of America's big birthday party on this absolutely gorgeous summer night, and welcome to the Great American State Fair. God bless you, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee, and hello, Washington, and a very big hello to America. Thank you. And 10 days from now, our country will celebrate one of the most monumental milestones in human history. We will mark 250 years of glorious American freedom. In 1776, our founding fathers met in Philadelphia and changed the world forever and ever with a thing called the Declaration of Independence. They proclaim the eternal truth that we are endowed by our Creator with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We all made, and you know that, free and equal by the hand of Almighty God. And those timeless American principles did not just win a revolution, but they built us into the greatest, strongest, and most exceptional nation the world has ever known. There has never been anything like the United States of America, and together we are making it bigger and better and stronger and far more exceptional than ever before. Today we have the largest economy on earth. We have the strongest military on earth. We have the most powerful technology on earth. We have the greatest culture on earth. And above all, we have the greatest people on earth. Greatest.
I personally think it's a great time to be alive in America. What do you guys think about that?
Everybody here loves America, and that's what you feel down here. It's that patriotism that I grew up with 30 years ago.
When you walk in here, there's about 10,000 people. I just saw the motorcade pull in.
We've never reached so high as we're reaching right now. This is our heritage. This is our history. And this is the destiny of America to be the greatest, most incredible country ever to grace the earth.
Okay, that was our coverage last night. Ambassador, first off, how do you keep up with him? I mean, he takes a red eye. He's off the red eye. This is extraordinary. 80 years old, and he's
unbelievable.
The 1 hour speech. not much reading off the glass. I mean, it's just him kicking into Trump mode.
And by the way, was obviously working all day running the free world and running the country.
That's what I said, going to the Senate, having a battle up there, guys yelling, they're trying to do the war powers, they go back and reverse it.
Well, and he saw the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte yesterday afternoon.
We started the show live in that, and he's support
and I knew that I was speaking at this huge Freedom 250 Great American State Fair kickoff last night, and I saw the Mark Rutte meeting pop up on my schedule. That I bring him in and I help to run that meeting, and I said, oh man, now I've got more, the Secretary General, and this man works literally around the clock.
Not that there's any issues with NATO. I mean, it's just going to be. It's not a cup of coffee. He's not coming back for a cup of coffee. Okay, Hanger. First off, you got to walk the audience through this. You've only been there a year. How did all this get pulled off? And people should know we're going to follow Ambassador Crowley now for the next 9 days or 10 days. Every day. Tomorrow we're going to go live. You're kicking off the Great America State Fair today. You'll be there live. Tomorrow we'll pick you up. You've only been there a year. How have you and the team pulled all this off?
Well, I was confirmed last May, so I've been in the job 13, going on 14 months. Others, obviously, including the president, started January 20th. But what we saw was that there was a bipartisan group that was congressionally constituted 10 years ago, a decade ago, for this semi-quincentennial celebration. It was called America 250. They are still in operation.
And they had a lot of money.
They had tens and tens of millions of dollars over 10 years.
I don't notice their fingerprints on a lot of this.
You don't see a lot, yeah. They do have some things organized, like a volunteer effort. They're going to drop the ball in Times Square on July 3rd, so if you're in New York, please come out for that. But what we saw, what they had planned was...
I thought Taylor Swift now took over Times Square. Is that how that's going to work around?
I think the America 250 stuff in New York is going to have to compete with, all too well. So that is all happening. And they did have some programming, but what we saw was that it didn't really match or align with what the president's vision was for what we really wanted this celebration of American exceptionalism to really be. So we decided, and the president unilaterally decided, he was going to sign an executive order and stand up another organization called Freedom 250. I am the president's representative. I'm so grateful to him for appointing me to this. I'm his representative to all of the major U.S. hosted events, including Freedom 250, the FIFA World Cup, and the Olympic Games coming down the road.
Close to him, I guess he figured also you're the head of protocol. It's all got to have he wants a certain house style.
Yes, and also as chief of protocol, my job is to manage all of his diplomatic engagements, the vice presidents, the secretary of state. So all of these events have a huge international component. So I think he figured, okay, Monica can go out and talk about everything we're doing like I am today, and also deal with the international visitors and all of those components that go along. But we saw that we wanted to create our own presidential style programming for Freedom 250. I've been in office 13, 14 months. This has been ongoing just for a year and a half, and it has been remarkable, Steve.
You pulled the whole American 50 state fairs off in less than a year.
Great American State Fair launches today, right now, as a matter of fact, so I encourage everybody to come to D.C. and check it out. All 56 states and territories are represented with their own pavilions, showcasing what makes them special and unique. We have, for the very first time, a 110-foot Ferris wheel on the National Mall. We have musical performances. We're having all kinds of engagements on the main stage. I will be on the main stage tomorrow, Friday, at 2 o'clock to talk about women and dreams and ambition and women's leadership. And then at 2:30, I want to make note of this because this was my baby of an idea. On eastern Long Island, there's a farm called Round Swamp Farm, and I've been going there for a really long time, and I noticed on the outside of their shops and on all of their bags, they very proudly displayed an American flag with the note, an official American bicentennial family farm.
Oh, wow.
So I started to talk to them, and they said, 50 years ago in 1976, President Ford started a legacy family farm program for all farms that had been in the same family for 200 or more years, going all the way back to the Revolution. And I said, we have to do this again for America's 250th. So I've been working very closely with Secretary Brooke Rollins Collins over at the Department of Agriculture. Their team has been phenomenal. She is phenomenal. And we are launching on Friday with a memorandum of understanding and a video from the president, the new semi-quincentennial American Legacy Family Farm Program. And we are recognizing all farms that have been in the same family for 100 years, 150, 200, 250 years and up. And in fact, Steve, we have some family farmers coming tomorrow to the National Mall to help us celebrate at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, who have been in the family for 300 and plus years, tending the same American soil by the same family. So this is extraordinary, this national network, and they're getting plaques that say an official American Legacy Family Farm. So that's my little baby. We're going to celebrate that tomorrow on the Mall at 2:30. I hope Ralph will cover all of this.
No, we're covering all. Now, we got about a minute. We're going to go to break. Last night, how did you pull all that together? The music was extraordinary. It was a great range of music. You had the right speakers, the right thing. The crowd loved it. How'd you pull that off in just a year?
Such an amazing celebration. I'm going to give huge props to ESI. It's a company that does special events. They've been working with the president on rallies and things for many years. Justin Caporal, Tim Eunice, that whole team over there,
it's the old advanced
incredible.
team.
Yes.
They're amazing.
And then, of course, in the White House, Vince Haley, who's the head of the Domestic Policy Council, and Brittany Baldwin. I want to give huge props to them. All of us just working together, but they really did the heavy lift.
Vince knows American history so well. I mean, he's a big brain.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. Ambassador Crowley is with us as we kick off the 250th commemoration celebration of the signing of the Declaration of Independence taking place the 4th. Of course, we're going to carry it through. Patrick K. O'Donnell will pick up from there, and we're going to do the combat history of the American War of Independence, which kicks off on the 5th of July. Extraordinary. In fact, we're going to talk about how your celebration commemoration just starts on the 4th and really goes throughout. Okay, short commercial break. The ambassador is in the house. Short break. Back in a moment.
What about Lake and Riley? Is Charlie too hard to say? What about when you took your shot at the one you call king? Where is the song for justice?
Hey there. Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of real America's voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Flashosaurus in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with the family I love.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to Rab. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
I'm Terry from New Jersey, and I just want to say that I love Real America's Voice. I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
Ambassador, first off, Eric Metaxas, who you know well, the book #2 on the New York Times bestseller list, is going to be on again this week. A gift from Eric and the team.
Thanks, Eric.
But what you're doing is incorporating. So tell us the idea when President goes, "Hey, look, this other thing, it's fine, but it's not going to work for me. I want to do the following." Walk us through the whole concept and then how it manifests itself between now and July 4th?
Yeah, well, I think it occurred to the president, to everybody else, that we wanted to have a true celebration of American exceptionalism, events that would honor our exceptional history, our God-given freedoms, and our real love of country. And what we wanted to do, and I talk about this every time I go on stage or talk about any of this, is that, you know, some of us in the audience may remember our bicentennial in 1976. I won't ask for a raise of hands. I was a very, very, very little girl.
No, little girl, you were a baby.
I was a baby. But I always talk about how I remember that day. It's a memory that's seared onto my mind because I remember being down the Jersey Shore with my family with a small American flag in one hand and a little sparkler in the other. So cool. And we were all on the beach. So it was like the entire Long Beach Island, the entire community, and really the entire nation came out to celebrate our bicentennial. And while I don't remember the details of that day, like where was President Ford? What was his speech to the nation like? I don't remember any of that, and I'm sure most of us don't. But what I do remember, Steve, is that indelible sense of patriotism that was implanted on my heart that day. And that is a feeling that I have never, ever lost or forgotten. What a gift that was to a little kid growing up in America in New Jersey. And so that is the vision that I had and that the team has and that the president has, because we wanted to impart that feeling, that love of America, that respect for our history and the sacrifices that were made to get us here in blood and treasure. We wanted to impart that to the next generations coming down the line, because they're certainly being counter-programmed by the indoctrination in our educational system and the communists that are winning now in our cities. We wanted to counter all of that with a true renewed sense of patriotism and a renewed sense of civic pride. And that's what we are doing with all of these events.
What I loved about when you first got in, and I know you had to, but you started with the 250th celebration over the military,
yes.
The Army and the Navy. We had these huge specials that we covered live. It was a great way to kick things off, to remind people that the services were here before the official birth of the nation.
That's exactly right. So we started with Lexington and Concord 250 last year. And then, of course, we had Army 250 and that extraordinary military parade the president spoke at here in Washington. Then we did Navy 250
that was extraordinary.
In Norfolk, which was incredible.
The president and Melania on the flight deck the entire, I said, because we're doing it live, and I said, eventually they're going to go up to the bridge or combat. They go, no, they stayed on the flight deck the entire time.
They did, and I spoke at that event. What an incredible honor for me to speak there. And of course, the First Lady, all of her fashion references, she's my spirit animal when it comes to fashion. She is just so extraordinary. And she wore what Kelly McGillis's character wore in Top Gun, the original Top Gun, with the leather jacket. She just looked so cool. And then we did Marine Corps 250, where the Vice President, who's a Marine veteran, spoke at that. And I'm sorry, the Air Force is a bit younger, but we give big props to them. And they were huge last night with all of the flyovers. Thank you so much to all branches of the military and the Air Force last night.
Right here on the war room, because we're up on Capitol Hill, they came in close. I mean, it was like a close bombing run.
700 feet for that
unbelievable.
B-2.
Unbelievable.
700 feet. We looked up and they were I mean, I could see the whites of the pilot's eyeballs, right? It was absolutely incredible. Just amazing. So we decided last year we wanted it to be really a year-and-a-half long celebration, going all the way through the end of this year. So let me just give you a rundown. So we've got the Great American State Fair that's launching. We launched it last night, but it's now open free of charge. All of our events are open to the public, free of charge. But we encourage everybody to go to freedom250.org, freedom250.org. You can register. Again, it's all free. But especially for the July 4th programming, you probably do want to register and get your free ticket. Again, open to the public, so walk-ins are welcome. But for July 4th, if you want the better viewing areas, you probably want to go to freedom250.org. So this Great American State Fair runs through July 10th. On the National Mall, opens at 10 a.m., goes through the late evening hours on the weekends until 11 p.m. So you can come with the whole family.
And you're having some musical acts, or certain things are going to happen at night on the...
Of course, yeah. So we've got musical performances that President's own Maureen Bannon, which is so extraordinary. They're going to be playing on the National Mall.
The schedules, if you go to Freedom 250, you can get the schedule.
The whole schedule.
Like on Monday night, who's going to be, if it's the Marine Band or the Army Band, people can say, hey, let's take the kids over to see the Marine Band.
Exactly right. Perfect. And we have programming on the main stage every day. Like I mentioned, tomorrow, Friday, I'll be on the main stage starting at 2, and then 2:30 with our American Family Farm Legacy program, which we're going to announce with Secretary Rollins.
I want to see the families that have been there for 250 or 300. Those are tough hombres.
I know.
We need more of that in D.C.
Exactly right. It's going to be so wonderful. But the whole schedule is there up on the website. 16 days of just an incredible World's Fair experience on the National Mall. Bring all of the family, all your friends and neighbors. And then, of course, the tentpole event is July 4th.
Well, hang on. Before we get to July 4th, because I got to talk about next week. Because only Trump can do this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Teddy Roosevelt, they're going to have a presidential library announcement or rollout or opening for Teddy Roosevelt in the Badlands, because the Badlands, if you know the history of Teddy Roosevelt, that kind of made him a man, right? It's a huge part. The president's flying out for that, to dedicate that. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And
that is next Wednesday, July 1st.
Next Wednesday. We're covering that live. We've got a team out there. We're going to cover that live. So it's going to be a special event in and of its own.
Very, very special. And as someone who has spent time and worked for now 2 American presidents, President Nixon in his last years and now President Trump twice, it means so much to me to see the president do this. And Teddy Roosevelt is, I mean, the guy was hardcore. He lost his sight in one eye because he was doing boxing matches in the White House.
Yeah.
He really, and
they talk about the UFC things. Teddy Roosevelt having bare knuckle fights in the.
I know. He's a big.
Those two are kind of alike. President Trump and Teddy Roosevelt are kind of. They have, it's that New York attitude, right?
Scrappy fighter. Yeah, that's their whole brand. But that's who they are.
So hold it. Having traveled with the president loves doing overnights. So he's going to do an overnight out in North Dakota?
No, he's coming back and forth in one day.
He's taking a red-eye back. He's taking a red-eye back.
Yes. And then he's going back to the Dakotas.
But South Dakota.
On Friday.
To Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. And you'll remember when Biden was in office that he refused to do any fireworks at Mount Rushmore for July 4th. And President Trump came in starting last year and said, no, we're doing fireworks at Mount Rushmore. He's going out for that.
Because Biden knows Trump's going to be up there eventually. He doesn't want to market it. He knows Trump's going to be the next guy up there.
Exactly.
So he's going out to Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
On the 3rd.
Yes.
And we're going to have a huge fireworks display. He's giving a major address out there. Then he will come back to Washington, and we'll have the huge event here.
Salute to America on July 4th on the National Mall. Yeah, so that programming
begins. By the way, you should know, Rav, we're doing wall-to-wall coverage of all this. So we're going to be up, like you saw last night, all of our correspondents, all of our show hosts, everybody. This is all hands on deck for the next 10 days. But it culminates really. It doesn't culminate, but this is like the central.
We have more going, which we can talk about after July 4th, because this is a year and a half long celebration. But on July 4th, the programming will begin around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. on the National Mall. So again, if you're coming, the gates will be open all day, starting at 10 a.m. for the Great American State Fair. Come with your family, friends, enjoy the day.
The stage will be the same place, the same thing.
The same stage.
With the Washington Monument in the background, right? It's magnificent.
Exactly. So the day will be open.
As the president's doing some more work, man, he is worked up on that thing.
Reflecting poll.
Oh, my Lord.
Yes.
He is. Folks, you understand something. When President Trump takes something, he's going to get this right? And
100%.
anybody messing around with it, you're going to pay a price.
By the way, he is a builder from New York, so this is his relaxation. Okay?
Exactly.
Normal people want to go to, like, the Caribbean for a week.
No,
Donald Trump relaxes by building.
No.
So the ballroom, of course, the arch, the triumphal arch,
I wouldn't be putting, I wouldn't be putting any hands on the tiles down there, right?
No, because now we have National Guard and we have Washington, D.C. Police, Secret Service. They're all down there. So if you're going to touch the pool, you're going to get arrested, and Janine Pirro will prosecute you. For 10 years, you're going to jail. Evening programming, Salute to America.
Throughout the day, it'll be at America's Fair, and then at 6 o'clock.
You can spend all day there.
Walk us through the programming.
Exactly. So the Salute to America, we're going to have major speakers. We're going to have major musical performances. We're going to have, of course, the military bands are going to perform as well. And we're going to be telling the story of America. So the entire night is going to have an ESI, Justin Caparel, Brittany Baldwin, Vince Haley. Everybody has put together a beautiful graphics presentation to the nation and to the world, starting at the very beginnings of our country, going through the story of American exceptionalism throughout the entire night, culminating, of course, with two things: the president's address to the nation, and then, of course, the biggest and greatest, because Donald J. Trump, fireworks display in the history of the world.
Incredible. Hang on a second. We're also going to have a little event that day in the harbor of New York, which I know you're very close to. We're going to get to all of it. Ambassador Monica Crowley is with us. We're talking about the amazing commemoration and celebration of the 250th, the birth of the greatest nation in the history of the earth. We'll be back in the war room in a moment.
I'd like to say this is the first.
Hey, Wayne Island Root, America Speaks. You call in and we talk about it. Your opinions, your comments, your questions. How do you call in? 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-7668. The show airs at midnight, East Coast time, 9 p.m. Pacific, but we tape it at 6 p.m. East Coast time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So you call in at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I talk to you, and it airs that night at midnight. The phone number again, 800-347-ROOT. That number is 24/7. You can leave voicemails. We play your voicemails on the air as well.
Hey, Wayne, what do you think about Obama?
He was a communist, socialist, Marxist radical.
I agree.
Or you can email me, wayneroot@gmail.com. I'll read your email live on the air with your comments or questions. America Speaks.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love Rob? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
It's Mama Love in northern Minnesota. You know, a collective voice is much louder than a single voice. Thanks, Rob, for giving us a place to chat and connect. See y'all in chat.
This is Diane from Rhode Island. Why do I love Real America's Voice? Because they deliver us facts from hosts who love America and love God. What's not to like?
They're now called the United States, sir.
Are they? Goodness me. The United States. Well, I haven't mentioned them. I prefer not to, whatever they're called.
They are a fact, sir.
The Vicar of Lichfield.
Sir?
The Vicar of Lichfield. It was his niece that married the second son of the organist at Norwich Cathedral. Good night, Mr. Pitt.
Good night, Your Majesty.
We don't have time for the whole clip, but he sits down, King George, he sits down. This actually happened with Pitt, and he starts reminiscing about what he had lost. The primeval forests, the fowl and the fauna, and he just goes on about America as a physical entity. In the history, it actually was one of the things that broke him the most and drove him. He was obviously had issues, but they never gave up. That's what's so important. And the reason I want to do this right now is that you handled the king, actually. The king comes in the 250th year. Only Monica Crowley can pull that off, right? Tell us about that, because this was a sore subject. I mean, as you know, you and I talk a lot. It didn't really end until Jackson's victory over Wellington's army in the Battle of New Orleans, because they still had, they came back here and burned the place down, right?
1812, 1815. They still felt like they had an iron grip on this place, and to lose it. And that clip you showed, it shows that King George III really had a sense in the moment, to your point, about what they lost. That this was a hinge moment in world history, and he had a sense of that. I said to Kim and to you that you should have also played from the musical Hamilton, when the King George character starts to sing, "You'll be back."
Maybe we'll do that next week with you. We'll start playing.
We decided to peace out in 1776, and we kept our freedom.
How did you handle the king coming over in the 250th and not having any hard feelings?
Well, no. I mean, we're way past that. At least I'd like to think that way. And the British, I worked very well with the British. So does the president. We're getting a new prime minister on their side, which we look forward to meeting.
Nigel Farage here quickly, if they actually had our buddy Nigel Farage, if they actually had an election.
Well, the British invented protocol. So for me and for my extraordinary protocol team, it was really our Super Bowl, because it was a full state visit with all of the honors, including a white tie dinner and
just
the flyovers, the inspection of troops.
There's something else they toss at you when you're trying to do the run-up to the 250. Oh, by the way, we're at the king.
Yes, and with a full state visit. What I loved the most, and I saw this too in our Army 250 parade, we have a Revolutionary War fife and drum unit in the U.S. Army, and my father served in the Army. I've got a big place in my heart for all of our military, but especially the Army. And it was so great to see that fife and drum Revolutionary War unit playing in front of the King of England
we covered the whole thing
and the
live
President of the United States.
On the lawn of the White House. It was amazing.
So beautiful.
And because the president had gone and loved it when he went over to England. Talk to me. The president always makes a point on anytime he's talking about this. Penske's part of this. Talk to me about. There's going to be a race. Where's the race going to be?
Yeah, this is going to be an unprecedented, once-in-a-lifetime experience. The weekend of August 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, right here in Washington, D.C., we are going to have an IndyCar Grand Prix race around our sparkling capital city, which is sparkling now thanks to President Trump and all of his Herculean efforts to make this city clean and safe and wonderful again.
And the monuments to work.
Monuments, fountains that work. It's a completely different
families
place
can walk
now.
around and be safe, not be mugged.
And like the president says, you go out to dinner, you can sit outside without fear of being robbed. So the third week of August, we are going to run this IndyCar race, and huge thanks to Roger Penske, Bud Denker, the entire team over there. They came up with this idea. The president signed an executive order literally within the day
but they said
to make
they've been trying to do something like this for decades, and nobody would even take a meeting.
And nobody wanted to do it. It was too big for them. They couldn't dream it.
Plus, the leftists here don't like automobiles. They don't like the internal combustion engines.
Exactly.
They're not fans of.
Going 150 miles around our nation's capital. Part of the reason, too, is there will be some advertising. There'll be Freedom 250, of course, but there'll be some advertising. And when you are in certain proximity to the U.S. Capitol, you cannot have commercial advertising. Now, we can argue they're all bought anyway.
What do you mean? The guy should, I've said forever they should have the NASCAR thing of the logos up there. What are you talking about?
This is like for the
They're
Capitol building.
So you're going to get me going here. You said that just to tick me off.
So I think that was part of the resistance,
tell the president
too.
that, by the way, you can't have that. He just was up there yesterday.
So they moved the track, actually.
No,
so
stop.
It's no longer immediately around the Capitol, but it's like one block away.
Oh, no. I get it.
Trust me when I tell you.
No. Oh, for the commercial.
The track is going to be, it's Independence Avenue, Pennsylvania Avenue.
Where do people,
amazing.
Where do people go for
Freedom250.org.
And you can
Freedom
get tickets.
250. You can find out all the information about that. Again, free and open to the public. We're expecting about 100,000 people coming out for that. All Freedom 250, because as they say, freedom roars and it revs.
I love that. Okay, starting when the Declaration was signed, shortly thereafter, the largest expeditionary force in the history of mankind showed up in New York Harbor around Staten Island, the British Expeditionary Force, and we had a little excursion for the next 6 months as we got driven back to Pennsylvania. Really, the Revolutionary War, the War of Independence started. Chris O'Brien joins us because you guys are commemorating all of this. People have to understand what's going on in D.C. There's actually a massive set of events going on nationwide and in New York. Chris, you join us now. Walk us through this, what's happening for the 250th on the water, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, great to be with you, Steve, and Ambassador Crowley. Always nice to see you. The world is really coming together for this moment here, July 4th. It's going to be spectacular. We're building on that legacy of the bicentennial event that happened here, July 4th, 1976. President Ford out there ringing the bell on board the USS Forrestal. So it's really a coming together of our friends from around the world, the allied nations and their navies. And so it's a combination of three major events. We have the U.S. Navy hosting an international naval review, the 7th in U.S. history. That will kick off the day starting at about 7:15 in the morning. That will run for about an hour and a half, and then that will lead into the International Tall Ship Parade. And so we've got some 36 tall ships from around the world that are here officially representing their countries that will parade under the Verrazano Bridge going north all the way up to the George Washington Bridge. On top of the tall ship parade, there'll be an international aerial review, and this is really unprecedented, with the Allied nations sending aircraft that will be parading over top of the tall ship parades. We think we're going to have 200 aircraft, so nothing like this has been seen in New York Harbor, probably the world. It's incredible, it's amazing, and we couldn't have done this without the support of Freedom 250 and President Trump. course, our partners at Department of Interior and National Park Service too. So really thankful for the support, but it's going to be a spectacular moment.
Chris, I just want to go back and make sure we get the logistics. Folks, here's what you got to look for. Only the seventh time. Having naval reviews is not something that happens all the time. They're very complicated. So you're having the seventh naval review in the country's history that starts at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time that morning in New York Harbor. Correct, sir?
That's right. That is right. And so, the logistics, you can imagine all the movements of all of the vessels, but the naval gray hulls will start coming in really just in a couple of days. July 1st, they're going to start coming into the harbor, and they will be lined between, it's a 15-mile stretch between the Verrazano Bridge and the George Washington Bridge. These ships are going to be lined up along the western side there of the channel that you navigate up. And there'll be a single Navy destroyer that will review the fleet. And so they'll exchange honors. It's a protocol moment. And so it's steeped in this history, and it's the seventh time in our nation's history this has happened. And then that leads into the celebratory
that starts. The ships will start coming in. They'll go to anchorage, and the Navy destroyer. That's going to be magnificent. Navy and the navies of the world, particularly the Allied nations. Then you've got what people remember from 1976, the tall ships, right? That starts next.
That's right. And Ambassador Crawley, I was 9, and I was in 1976 at the Bicentennial. I was watching the tall ships on TV, and so at 9:30, the first of the tall ships will cross going north under the Verrazano Bridge, and they'll parade all the way up to the George Washington Bridge, and that whole evolution will go on from 9:30 till 2:30 in the afternoon. So it's really kind of an all morning, mid-afternoon thing. The whole event will be televised live via our TV partner NBC. So it's going to be brought to the nation. So it's really our hope that we create this moment and this memory for this generation here, really seeing the world coming together. This is the international celebration moment for the United States of America on our 250th.
And then the very Trumpian, which has never been done before, is capped off starting, I guess, at 3:30 in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon with an aerial review, correct?
Yeah, the aerial review will coincide. It's all timed out perfectly. It's going to coincide with the lead tall ship, the U.S. Coast Guard tall ship Eagle. Will reach at 10:15 right abeam the Kearsarge, which is an LHD. That will be the reviewing platform. We're expecting our vice president to be the reviewing officer there. So at 10:15, that will kick off the parade where Eagle will be there, and then the Blue Angels will hit right at that moment, and that will kick off the aerial review. It's going to be spectacular. There's also the largest American flag I think ever made. The Marines are going to be flying it over the harbor leading up before the events and then after the events. It's just going to be a spectacular day.
Wow. And we will be we'll be live on the Kearsarge that day on the reviewing platform. Our own David Zier will be there as we go around the nation. Chris, where do people go to get information about this? And particularly if somehow they can go and say, what's the website? Where do they go? What do they got to know?
Yeah, it's sailforth.org, sail the number 4th.org. And like the other events here for America's 250th, these events are free and open to the public. And so we're expecting actually millions of people to come down and engage. You can get on these ships. You can meet the sailors, learn a little something about the culture. The ships can learn a little bit something about Americans, at these moments to come together. Really, it's about international goodwill. And so it's really kind of an anchor of what this moment's going to be here in New York.
Chris, one more time, where do people go? I want everybody to pile into this right now. Where do they go?
Sailforth.org, sail the number 4th.org. We're looking forward to seeing everybody here. It's going to be just an amazing moment on July 4th. and there's no better way to celebrate than bringing the world together like this. So we're so excited.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
And Steve, if I can just jump in, I just want to thank Chris. Has been phenomenal. His whole team. Dealing with New York City is not the easiest thing to do, and he and his team have done an extraordinary job working with the Navy, working with other parts of the federal government to really pull this off. And we complain a lot about New York City with the communists taking over. New York City was our very first capital. George Washington spent a lot of time there, Fraunces Tavern.
Yes.
So if you're in New York City, please go to this event. It's going to be gorgeous.
The farewell address to his officers at the Francis Tavern. We'll take a short commercial break. Chris, thank you so much. Appreciate you, brother. Taylor Swift, Kelsey ought to be, the fleets of the world are coming. Better get her married. Better put her...
Hey, Wayne Island Root, America Speaks. You call in and we talk about it. Your opinions, your comments, your questions. How do you call in? 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-7668. The show airs at midnight, East Coast time, 9 p.m. Pacific, but we tape it at 6 p.m. East Coast time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So you call in at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I talk to you, and it airs that night at midnight. The phone number again, 800-347-ROOT. That number is 24/7. You can leave voicemails. We play your voicemails on the air as well.
Hey, Wayne, what do you think about Obama?
He was a communist, socialist, Marxist radical.
I agree.
Or you can email me, wayneroot@gmail.com. I'll read your email live on the air with your comments or questions. America Speaks.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love Rob? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
It's Mama Rub in northern Minnesota. You know, a collective voice is much louder than a single voice. Thanks, Rev, for giving us a place to chat and connect. See y'all in chat.
This is Diane from Rhode Island. Why do I love Real America's Voice? Because they deliver us facts from hosts who love America and love God. What's not to like?
If I can... So starting at Mount Rushmore the day before, right? Starting Mount Rushmore the day before, and then going over into the fourth. The fourth, we really start off with the Navy and the spectacular events of the tall ships and the flyover in New York, and then it's back to D.C. The president then is going to give his address. You're going to have this event starting at 6. The president will give his address, then most massive fireworks, and maybe fly over to there. So just walk us through it. I mean, this is a spectacular way to kind of end it it's literally 48 hours of activity. Correct?
Yeah, and this is really a once-in-a-lifetime celebration for a lot of people. Or if you remember 1976, it's a twice-in-a-lifetime opportunity to really celebrate America. And, you know, Steve, I say this a lot because having worked with President Nixon during the last couple of years of his life, Nixon left office in 1974, 2 years before the bicentennial, right? This country was riven with very, very deep divisions. You had the war in Vietnam had come to an end. You had Watergate. You had the countercultural revolution in America. The country was really ripped apart. But because of the bicentennial in 1976, it was such an opportunity to bring everybody together under one banner of American exceptionalism, American power, American uniqueness, love of country. And that's why I say that memory is really imprinted on my heart. That is what we're trying to do here. We are still riven by some very deep divisions. We have a president Trump, who, like President Nixon, was very controversial, is very controversial. But this is not about any single person. This is about the country and the sacrifices of those, starting with the revolutionary generation who have gone before us. The MAGA generation are the natural heirs to the revolutionary generation, for sure. And so it's really up to us to lead the charge in the celebration to unite the country around a shared sense of patriotism, a renewed sense of civic pride in America, what it means to be America, to be in America today. All of those things, we want to leave a lasting impression on all generations, but especially among really young people, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, to go forward and carry the banner of America, because the future is all of ours, but particularly theirs.
I want to leave that forth, everything that goes on. And folks, Real America's Voice, like I said, we're going to have David Zier on the review ship, or we're going to be everywhere for these next 10 days. But that is like the tent pole, but it goes on. You know, the race. Talk to us about the future, because we have lots of, it's the 250. Where do you go from here?
Yes. So, and by the way, every community across America, pretty much all of them, they're doing their own celebrations too. So you can go to freedom250.org, see what's happening in your state, in your community, your neck of the woods. July 4th, obviously. But then after that, the Great American State Fair continues through July 10th. Then, of course, we mentioned the IndyCar Grand Prix, the third weekend of August. We're also hosting the Patriot Games, which is something that's very close to the president's heart.
He talked about it last night. Tell us what that is.
It is a nationwide athletic competition for high school students. Again, freedom250.org can find out all the information. If you're a high school athlete, you want to compete in the Patriot Games, go there. You can register. That'll be in early August. And it's something that means something to the president, because it's really a celebration of American competitive spirit, which has really driven this country for 250 years. After that, going into the fall, we have some other things that we're thinking about through the end of the year. But Freedom 250 is where you can find all the info.
Let's go out with Right Stuff today. Can we do that? Can Denver get that for me? Our favorite closing song. You're juggling all this because the president's got a pretty active fall when it comes to international events and things he's doing. Walk people through. We got a couple of minutes here. How do you juggle both?
It is an around-the-clock experience, but such a blessing and such an honor. Every day is an adventure with President Trump. He is, as you know, especially in that first year, every world leader wanted to come to see him. So last year, we actually set a record for visits and international diplomatic engagements for the president, vice president, Secretary Rubio, over 180 diplomatic engagements, whether they came here or he saw leaders abroad at summits and bilateral meetings, 180 plus. So he definitely set a record with that this year, too, as you know, because not only is he rebalancing global trade, but he's also restructuring the entire global power structure. So much of it is directly related to the international flow of oil and energy, which is the Iran situation has a lot of moving parts, the nuclear weapons program, the Strait of Hormuz, but he is really remaking the world. And you saw that with the removal of Maduro. Piece by piece, he's restructuring the global power structure to make it so that the American power, the American experiment in freedom is the most dominant driving power going forward for the next 250 years. So I asked for patience because, this whole kind of deep state move has been ongoing for 100 years since Woodrow Wilson. It doesn't get rolled back overnight.
Now I'm getting Monica. Now I'm getting my Monica back up here. Drop the ambassador. Hold it.
Yeah, now
no,
back to
ambassador.
Monica.
Where's my Monica? No, but people, that's your policy chops. Are you going to be the next national security advisor?
Well, I think the president has very talented national security advisor and Secretary Rubio. I think he's very happy. But yes, I love watching the policy unfold in this second Trump term. It's extraordinary.
Where do people get you? Social media, where do they go? One more time.
On X at Monica Crowley, on Instagram at Monica Crowley _, and on True Social at Monica Crowley.
It's an honor to have you in here.
It's an honor to be here.
No, and
Thank
for
you.
The audience loves you, and for everything that you've done. People don't realize until you stepped in, there was nothing. I mean, there was nothing. What you and the team, Justin, Vince, everybody, people at the White House, people at the agencies, over at Interior, the team of Justin Caparella, the team, ESI, and what he's done is just extraordinary. And the nation owes you guys say, hey, thank you for doing this because for our 250, that had to be done right. And last night you saw the kickoff was so extraordinary.
It's our honor to do this for our country.
And we want to have you in the morning for a quick hit, maybe from your offices. Tell us what's going to go on the evolutions
next
of the day.
Next week, for sure.
And
I'll be back.
Well, we're going to get you live tomorrow at 2 o'clock here on Real America's Voice.
Great.
The Charlie Kirk Show is next. Andrew Covette and the team will take it from here. We're back live at 5 o'clock. My wingman, Captain Bannon, will be back with me before she heads out to Nashville for the Eric Bolling John Rich Festival. We'll see you back here at 5 o'clock.
Old school online security tools leave you half protected.
Hey, Wayne Allen Root, America Speaks. You call in and we talk about it. Your opinions, your comments, your questions. How do you call in? 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-7668. The show airs at midnight, East Coast time, 9 p.m. Pacific, but we tape it at 6 p.m. East Coast time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So you call in at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I talk to you, and it airs that night at midnight. The phone number again, 800-347-ROOT. That number is 24/7. You can leave voicemails. We play your voicemails on the air as well.
Hey, Wayne, what do you think about Obama?
He was a communist, socialist, Marxist radical.
I agree.